Alright, so we are back with another top 10 LRs tier list, and this of course is in regards to Ultra Instinct Sign Goku, the brand new Tanabata LR of 2024, being released on the JP version. We're going to go ahead and talk about how good he is as a unit overall across all the events I have taken him into, and we're going to rank him among the best units in the game. Now, in my opinion, we're doing this video, he is part of the top 10 LRs tier list, and I do want to confirm that this character, Android 17 Puma number 7, also is getting an EZA, but their EZA is still not out until the 2nd, so I still need to wait to actually use these guys and get a good idea. I heard they're good, and people are saying that these guys also would fit a top 10 tier list, so I mean, we'll see what I do with these guys in a couple of days. I don't want to I ideally don't want to do 200 in 1 week, so we'll see what I do for those guys, but again, they're not being considered for this list because I have not used them and they're not in game. We only have their details as of now. I haven't seen any gameplay of them whatsoever. Now, again, yeah, let's just hop right into it. I think, again, we're going to start from number 10, and we'll just move our way up. These are the LRs that are considered, quote-unquote, for the tier list. But at our number 10 spot, we do indeed have Buu Gohan and Goku and Evolution Vegeta. I think that these guys are just very straightforward. Rainbow Orb Changer wants to get the Rainbow Orbs, right? Which is very good because, you know, even besides these guys, there are a couple of relatively, you know, I think useful Rainbow Orb Changers that can handle the toughest content in the game currently. So even if these guys would somehow grab all the Rainbow Orbs they create, they will still have tons of other options on their teams to get Rainbow Orbs for at least other characters if needed. But usually with Rainbow Orb changing, it's quite simple to like have leftover rainbow key spheres on the field for your other characters. Like one rainbow orb changer on the rotation usually is at least able to help 2 out of 3 characters, if not your entire rotation. And the reason I would say sometimes 2 out of 3 is because, again, these guys do need to get the rainbow orbs themselves. But I mean, with the rainbow key spheres they do get an additional task, a high chance to be a super, plus 7% reduction. You know, I think consistently I've been able to get 3 to 4 rainbow key spheres with this guy, so that's 21 to 28% damage reduction. That by itself is not like a huge number, and I think the hardest hitting supers in the game, there are situations where they may not live, but these guys can get, I think, at a even consistent rate to like 1.5 mil defense. There's events where you can lower attack, and man, if these guys get like 3-4 supers off, that's a 30% attack buff here to the enemy. Then this is, I believe, a 20% attack buff right there. I think we can click this and see, yeah, 20% attack and defense debuff for 3 turns, and then the TEQ is a 30% attack and defense debuff for 3 turns to the enemy, which, you know, Kid Buu could be attack debuffed, Blue Gogeta could be attack debuffed, right? There's different fights nowadays who do allow that status debuff, which, you know, could be very helpful. Even some of the newest Sprint Battle Spectacle stages that came out for the Tanabata celebration, a lot of those stages can actually be attack debuffed, which is very, very useful. Now, these guys also do have guaranteed crits, right? And they have a massive damage reduction passive, plus the mega nuke turn that they can get. I think there's just a lot in their kit that, you know, you could see this in difficult content, and then essentially they become invincible, right? Given that you get a good amount of rainbow key spheres with them. Let's say even if you get like just 3 rainbow key spheres, that's 91% reduction after the attack. Then they're doing like a almost like 40 mil attacks that sometimes, right? Especially with the new domain with the TEQ UI Goku on that team, that can give them a 30% domain buff, which is a multiplicative stat increase, and that could let these guys just hit incredibly hard. So technically they're even better than they were pre-UI Goku, right? Because of the fact that they now have access to a 30% attack buffing domain, which again adds a multiplicative separate buff. It's huge, especially for these guys who I think, you know, I think basically they are a damage dealer first, then they are like, I would say like 8 out of 10 defensively. Then they have the utility with the rainbow orb changing and the, you know, some of the damage reduction, stuff like that, right? I guess damage reduction won't count for defense, but you guys get what I mean. The only requirement is that they have superheroes on the team, but again, like all the best units in the game are superheroes, so not a big deal. Next, we have LR Buu Ultimate Gohan, and then I will also put the next one here because again, this is a big contender for a lot of people. Dragon Ball Super Broly is 8 on my list. Now, again, I do want to point out, you know, even though because this guy's coming out on global like in a few days, this guy being 8 on the list, he's still extremely good, right? You can move him up. You could argue moving this guy up. You know, maybe you could argue moving him under Buu tanks if you really want. I personally don't agree. The thing about Broly versus Buu Ultimate Gohan to me is I think that Broly, like, okay, Buu Ultimate Gohan, he can, there is like a small like window that this guy can get caught on like turn 3, but it's not really going to be something that I'm going to like take too much against this guy. I think, you know, with Broly versus Buu tanks, maybe it can come down to the small things in terms of Broly, you know, the team that this guy leads and the units that could be around him are just gonna be overall better than what Buu Ultimate Gohan does have. Buuhan, you know, in terms of his defense, I would argue he's better than what Broly's going to be doing, right? But Broly's defense, especially when he transforms, is still quite good. While I think Broly gaps this guy offensively when he's transformed, especially. Even pre-transformation Broly, if you have like a major crit build in this guy, I feel like he's going to end up doing more damage as well, just because he has a whole extra super he could do. But yeah, this guy also does support extreme class allies with his domain. This can allow certain bosses to do more damage to you, right? But not all fights are super class anyways, and he is giving 20% buffs to anyone who fits his 200% leader skill essentially. So at the end of the day, this guy is supporting quite a lot to extreme class allies, which is very useful. I guess he does also buff extreme class enemies at the same time, but I think you guys get what I'm saying. I think this guy also having the support is very cool, and he just ends up deleting these final bosses. The biggest thing I would say is I think like Broly before he transforms is not like crazy. Like I would probably even say before transforming, these guys might be better than Broly. You know, these guys are probably better than Buu tanks before he transforms as well. Like if it's just their pre-transform state, I probably would do like this. But Broly transformed, I think, is just gonna be a better character. Now, depending on how the event goes, this could be tough to, you know, depending on your rotations even. You know, if it's a short event, you might not even see this at all. It's just something that can happen, you know, that you just literally do not see this transformation with Broly. And that is definitely unfortunate, but Broly's still able to hold his own again in the first few fights, or the first few turns of the fight. And then when you transform into this guy, man, I'm telling y'all, it's like you have to like use him and see him delete these phases in order to really understand like how powerful he is. And you know, there's an argument that can be made, one-shotting these bosses arguably is just going to be the best defense, because oh well, I get past the phase and I don't even have to worry about getting hit anymore, right? You know. Not that I'm like a true subscriber to that ideal, but yeah, I think Buu Ultimate Gohan probably will age better, like Buu Go tanks are here, than Broly will, but we'll see in the future. So next we have the Gammas. The reason why I like the Gammas more than Buu tanks and then Broly is I think that they're just doing more over the course of the fight, right? And I do like characters who are, you know, especially when it comes to top 10 LRs, it is a thing where like those small, like even just like 1 or 2 turns where it's like, even like, how to explain it? Like, let's say if at the end of the event they're at similar levels of strength, but then like, you know, the first 2-3 turns, or like turn 3 and 4, the Gammas would be better. I think overall I would take that because it's a more consistent character helping you throughout the entire fights, is what I'm thinking here. Because these guys, again, straight off the gate, supporting superheroes, joined forces, or defenders of justice, 3 key 30% stats, very nice right there. They are just able to easily be floated off. You could theoretically stand by with them their very first turn if you like enter turn 2 with them, and then you can go into the standby mode, which is again very useful. Like, I honestly, no other character on this list can actually even really do that. Like turn 2, even like theoretically turn 1, I guess, if you like go on a, I don't know, like how to explain it, like, you know, the board, the map before you enter the fight. Certain fights, I guess, have like, you know, the attack that could hit you and then you could fall under HP. Like that could, I guess, happen, but it's not really going to be common in like actual difficult content because that's never a thing. still, like, if you get these guys out, like, they're also way quicker to get out than Broly and Buu tanks, right? Because this is guaranteed. Essentially, you attack 3 times with these characters, and it's very, I think, easy to do that because they get guaranteed additional attacks, which is nice. And then they get the 30% reduction for the turn once they do that. I guess that means, like, you know, obviously in terms of like slot 1, turn 1, these guys aren't going to be like that. And even in this phase, they're not going to be slot 1 either. But like at the same time, these guys aren't also really slot 1 until they're like fully transformed. Then I really do like this. This ability, in fact, is also even better considering UI Goku's counters. This charges with each counter, and obviously UI Goku is like one of the best superheroes characters in the game. So you're going to see UI Goku and the Gammas together on the team. UI Goku will get a lot of these counters and then raise his attack, and then, oh, you know, the Gammas end up just being able to do a really huge shot of damage, which is really, really awesome. You know, they also have the built-in crit here. They support superclass allies defense for 1 turn, so if they're in like the second slot through rotation, right, they can provide the floater 50% defense. I think usually you're not going to run these guys slot 1 though, so you're not going to be able to get the full effect until you go into Gamma 1. Not only do you do huge damage attack by getting into Gamma 1, he's just a way better option and can start sitting in slot 1 if you do get, well, given you're above 30% HP more, if you are able to get the 5 int or STR key spheres, this guy is getting 80% reduction, and basically in slot 1 with 80% reduction and, like, you know, I think they're like 500k defense range or so potentially, you are able to be at a level where, you know, you could just eat any super attack in the game. For the most part, I haven't tested, like, I feel like Blue Evolution Vegeta super attack or Blue Gogeta. The Blue Gogeta super attack, I've seen these guys live. Blue Evolution Vegeta doesn't hit harder though, but Blue Gogeta could be attack debuff, but the Vegeta cannot be. Either way, like, these guys could sit in slot 1 for the most part. 50% defense for 2 turns to superclass allies is a crazy effect. A 2-turn effect, right? And especially with this guy being able to sit in slot 1 in many situations, if not basically the entire game, all your characters are going to get the full buff of that. And then once they super, it's like they're invincible, especially once after they Superman, because they get this multiplicative buff here. And keep in mind, the entire time they're still supporting 50% via the passive. It's not hard to get the Inky spheres if you set up the orbs correctly. Not gonna say it's something that you could easily do, but like, worst case scenario, you could have these guys in slot 3, set up the AGL key spheres, then use the active skill and you get a bunch of Inky spheres and you're good to go, right? I guess one thing could be links potentially with them, like being at full power, but like S-tier Gamma 1, still pretty good actually, which is really crazy. And these guys are giving key support anyway, so like they don't really have to worry too much about getting key, especially since they are a Rainbow Orb Changer. I personally haven't really found issues with getting these guys the key that they need. So that's a good thing, right? At least I definitely do like to see that. But yeah, I do like the Gammas quite a bit. I am a Gamma defender. I probably like the Gammas more than a lot of people may like them, but you know, I will defend them until the end of the earth. So next we have Blue Gogeta here. I think Blue Gogeta is just simple, where I think he's going to be providing overall more throughout the entire fight. Like, again, the Rainbow Orb changing turn 1 is very nice. Turn 4 start of turn could be a little annoying, but at least like with this guy, you could just float him off. Then turn 4, you transform this guy instantly to Blue Gogeta. He has the heal is really crazy, right? He has 2 instances where you could heal you 54% HP, such a huge amount. And I think this is something that's like not talked about with this Gogeta. The fact that he could heal you so much HP is so useful, right? Especially when it comes to like characters who have standby skills where they need to take the attack. I guess for like Beast Gohan, that doesn't really matter the HP that you will have, because he's going to get so much defense anyway, so he'll take double digits. I guess I should say just for characters, you know, who like for situations where maybe you could save your revive skill because you healed instead of using like Blue Evolution Vegeta's revival skill or something like that, right? Could be very nice. Maybe Blue Goku and Evolution Vegeta's, right? You're able to save their 50% like damage reduction, the 70% reduction that they get, under 50% HP is what I'm trying to say, because this guy healed, right? Stuff like that could be very useful. Super effective in both phases, still Rainbow Orb changing in both phases. This guy has a Ki Blast nullification, so the only fight right now that could really nullify dodge that's really tough is the Blue Evolution Vegeta stage. But even if you can't get rid of that, again, this guy has a 70% chance to nullify Ki Blast Super's encounter. So even though he can't dodge, you're not going to be placing him in slot 1 anyways. And in slot 2, he will be able to not only tank the normals, even post super from that guy, but he still has a 70% chance to counter the super because it's a nullification. It is not a dodge. Alright, they changed that a while ago at this point, so that is good. Standby skill as well. Can't really use that in that Blue Evolution fight unless you have the TEQ UI Goku, which is right here, funny enough. But in most of the fights, I think, especially in longer content, you're able to get that very easily. It is essentially a like kind of turn 7, turn 8 sometimes thing that you'll have to wait to get. But again, it is in, like, I guess in pure effect, being able to evade enemy attacks and then just like target all of them towards you, and you do an attack as well. That is probably the strongest target skill that's available in the game, besides again Blue Evolution Vegeta potentially. But even if you target the enemy attacks towards you, I guess, you know, some of the supers some of the normals that would hit you before this guy raises his defense would be quite an issue. But yeah, that's the only place where that could be bad. But like, there's so many characters now that CO you, stun you, so being able to just evade all of those completely and let all your characters do their super attacks normally, even your slot 1 character, is just a useful thing to have, I think. So yeah, I think this guy's great. Just very easy and simple to use, and that's, I think, my favorite thing about this guy is that he's like a character you could just kind of throw around. And whilst I feel like his overall, like, you know, how hard he hits, he doesn't hit as hard as Broly, he doesn't defend as well as the Gammas, I think the overall mix and the overall ability what he could provide to the team, especially with his target skill, is probably like some of the best utility in the game, easily, right? I mean, he's on the top 10 list, right? It is some of the best utility in the game. Like, yeah, this Blue Gogeta is kind of crazy. So I think next we'll bring up the 2 6th anniversary characters, Age-0 UI Goku and then Blue Evolution Vegeta. Then we'll be at our top 3, but I just want to point out really quickly, my opinion for them usually hasn't really changed. I think they both have a more or less easy revive to get. Blue Evolution's Vegeta's revive, I think it's just a more consistent thing to see. And I think, you know, being able to just tank attacks most of the time is better than dodge as of currently, right? I think in the future, when maybe Blue Evolution Vegeta, like, you know, these first few attacks could really hurt this guy, or even with his full reduction, he just takes like so much damage, which is not gonna be for a while. But like, kind of even in a slot 1 situation where it's a thing, oh well, UI Goku, eventually he could build up to guarantee dodge. We did know and figure out that this actually adds on to this 77% chance dodge, which, based on the database, it seemed like that wasn't the case, right? I think some people always figured it was this case anyways, maybe because they weren't aware of, like, you know, I guess some of us looking into the database and things like that. But now it is known for sure to be additive based on some extra testing some people did. So that's awesome, right? This guy can get guaranteed dodge. So in theory, this guy will age better than Blue Evolution, but I think right now, currently, Blue Evolution is just slightly better. And again, the revive being able to be activated even at full HP is also, I think, better than this guy. You know, this guy having the additional with the great chance to be super compared to this guy having the 77% chance to do an additional super, right? They're just like some extra things I think make me like Blue Evolution Vegeta more. But these guys are pretty neck and neck, I think, especially since we know this guy has a guaranteed dodge. So that's awesome, right? If you really want to push and say UI Goku over this guy, I'm not gonna be like, you're completely wrong. I mean, at this point, it's like, it's not even that big of a deal. Like, if you have spot 4 over spot 5, or that means, well, yeah, duh. If you have spot 5 or spot 4, I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, you're so wrong. I think you should be banished from the internet. I don't know, some people are kind of crazy about this game, but no, these guys are amazing. They'll be coming to global soon, which is awesome. You guys will be able to experience how these guys are. will be still some weeks away, but you know, these guys are pretty sick. Alright, now we get to TEQ UI Goku. And I think a lot of people may not like this, that I have my 3 under Submax and Beast Gohan. I'll just put these guys here. At this point, right, you know, these are my top 3 characters, and we'll just close these right here. This is not really needed. Just close all that. I'm gonna just say it right away. I think when this guy's transformed, he is the best unit in the game, right? When you transform into the UI Goku and he's just completed just UI Goku, right? This guy is better than me. I would say that even he's just doing so much with the counters, the damage that he could end up doing once he builds up the crit, especially like these counters just do too much damage for these bosses, right? And then he's supporting still like all these super class plus Realm of Gods characters. He has the guaranteed dodge during that turn, which means he's guaranteed countering every attack. That does also include super attacks. He's supporting the entire rotation by giving all allies 59% defense for the turn and attack as well, right? This won't really matter too much because this is like a minimal buff compared to if it was like in the passive, but this ends up actually being a pretty good buff, which is really funny. It's just like this guy, I took him against the blue Gogeta fight, and then I had like a supported rotation with this guy, like the Krillin and 18 were in the rotation before, giving 50% stats. We had the Gammas on that rotation giving 50% stat support. This guy post super was doing over 7 mil attack stats, right, in his counters. And if you guys aren't aware, the counter attack stat is actually, it doesn't display the right number. I assume it's because it doesn't actually consider the tremendous power when the attack stat is shown. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. That's just how the game works. But it's essentially 3 times the value of what you see in the counter stat. So those counters were not doing 7 mil. They were doing 21 mil. And it was actually 22 mil because it was like 7.3. But you guys get the point. Where this guy's counters hit so unbelievably hard. I think there's not a character where you see the attack stat and you're like, oh, you know, he's doing a 18 mil attack stat, you know, he's kind of mediocre. No, the counters are where his damage comes from, and he's dodging at the bare minimum. He also has 77% chance to dodge built up that he can get right from the next turn onward. If you fall under 50% HP or less, he gets an extra 20% chance to dodge, so that's a 97% chance to dodge plus this extra 91% attack. Like, how hard is he gonna hit those turns? It's crazy. He has like an insane team as well, like all the superhero characters are basically on the team. Beast Gohan's on this leader skill, Blue Gogeta's on this leader skill, all the Universe 7 EZA characters are on this leader skill, right? Yeah, come on. This guy's so good. And again, even if you get hit, he has 60% reduction on the first attack he receives. Then after that, he has 20% reduction in guard. So he has multiple safeguards, unlike AGO UI Goku, unlike STR UI Goku, and any of these Ultra Instinct Gokus that get hit and they're dead a lot of the situations. It's not like that with this guy in many situations. He has the safeguard to allow him to live even when he doesn't dodge. And then when he does dodge, he's an absolute obliterates enemy. It's just crazy, right? He's so good. Now, that's where we get to Ultra Instinct Sign. I think UI Sign Goku is also still quite good, right? He has a very similar safeguard mechanic. He has great chance to dodge. He is not doing these counters, though. So I think the damage this guy does compared to post-transformation, it's just uncomparable. This guy's damage is like, he has the great chance to crit, which is nice. He does, like, I would say, let's say 16 to 18 mil, 18 key. Then he does additionals like 10 to 12 mil. So he is still supporting the entire rotation, 30% defense, slot 1 character, right? I just think that this character, there's a big drop, and the thing about him is that you have to wait to turn 5 from his start turn. Just like Broly, there are fights and battles where you may not even see that at all, right? And it's a thing where I think, compared to Cell Max, turn 1 Cell Max is Cell Max. He has to build up a little, but like turn 1, turn 3, turn 5, turn 7, he's still doing the same things that he's doing throughout the entire fight. Beast Gohan is doing the same things he's doing throughout the entire fight. He has a turn 3 target skill, which makes him invincible and protects the entire rotation. He's also, technically supporting the rotation, giving him 20% crit chance. We'll take that. Not as good. I do like the key support he also gives, like the Beast Gohan. So Max doesn't necessarily support, but I think in terms of his like overall offensive potential plus defensive potential, well, more so offensive potential, like this guy is crazy, right, for the first few turns. And it's just a thing where even like UI Goku or Blue Evolution Vegeta earlier on are also like better, right? I would say like in terms of UI sign, he's like probably right here with like Blue Gogeta range, where pre-transformation he himself is not crazy, but it's this guy that like really makes things so utterly insane. So I think things even out, and he's at 3 in my opinion. And I could see the argument for this guy being 1 regardless. This is just how I personally feel about the character in terms of, okay, I'm gonna rank these characters throughout their performance in the entire fight. I'm not gonna rank them based off of just the transformed state, just Beast Gohan's target skill state, just Cell Max's target skill state, right? That's my thought here. Again, I talked about Cell Max a lot in the last video, so I won't like go mega in depth. If you want to see that video is actually also on the channel. Cell Max is crazy though. I think UI Goku came out and everyone stopped talking about this guy, really, which makes sense, right? UI Goku is obviously the new biggest thing, and he's a much more popular character than Cell Max, but still, Beast Gohan, I think everyone knows how good this guy is, and I feel like, like this guy, even with the safeguard, there's situations where he could still die. I think that could still happen with this UI Goku, or he takes so much damage so that he could lead potentially your other characters on the rotation to die as well. That doesn't really happen with Beast Gohan unless you deliberately misplay with this guy, right? Same with Cell Max, I would say. Well, it's like, even like Blue Evolution Vegeta or UI Goku, there's situations, even though they have the revival skills, like they can't, there's situations where they can't die, right? Same with this UI Goku. Same with like any other character here. The only characters I really feel like that doesn't happen with is Transformed UI, Beast Gohan, and Cell Max. Is my experience with the characters. But there we go. That is my top 10 LRs tier list, including the TEQ UI Goku. Let me know what you guys think about this tier list. I'm gonna smooth this guy down. Honorable mentions here, I would say Broly Trio. I think I had him 10 in my last tier list. Cope all you want. The truth, dude, this guy is like Broly Trio. Broly Trio. I'm a Broly Trio denier. I can never get 7 orbs. It's not that hard. Like on his best teams, like in Super Bosses, there's multiple like orb changer available. Like this, it's not hard to get this guy's guaranteed dodge. Esther Vegito, it's still good, right? Esther UI still good. Orange Piccolo still able to hold his in on his own. I think that, some people overrate Orange Piccolo as well. But he is still like an incredibly well-used character. I put these 2 in here. They're the most recent Yellow Coin alert releases. They're good. I don't really think that they're necessarily on the level of the rest of these guys, actually, which is really funny. But anyways, I'm done. Official list right here for me. Not I said that weird. This is not the this is the one and only Dokkan tier list. No, this is my list. I'm out. Thanks y'all for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.